It's Wednesday, September 10th. In the headlines, Water Resources Authority urges proper waste management to protect Rio Bueno watershed. In business news, net international reserves steady. Regionally, Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, hosts Caribbean Wellness Day. And in sports, Reggae Boys secure their second win in World Cup qualifiers, and Jamaican football legend Alan Skill Cole dies at 74. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. The Water Resources Authority, WRA, is urging improved solid waste and effluent management in the Rio Bueno Sub-Watershed Management Unit in St. Anne, following the findings of a recent isotope hydrology study that revealed strong interconnectivity among water sources in the area. The assessment, conducted in partnership with the International Atomic Energy Agency, showed that upstream activities, including improper waste disposal, can significantly impact downstream water quality, particularly in communities that rely on the watershed for domestic supply and key water production. Deputy Managing Director of the WRA, Jeffrey Marshall, emphasized the importance of protecting upstream water recharge zones.
Protecting the source water that's upstream, protecting the watershed upstream will have a significant impact on ensuring the water quality further downstream, where you have more of the population, more of the spring source, more of the water availability sources, water production sources. That protection it's an interconnected thing, wide-ranging, and so we need to be very committed and cautious of how we protect the land use and the environment in those water recharge areas further upstream.
Communities bordering the watershed, such as Runaway Bay, Discovery Bay, and St. Anne's Bay, are particularly vulnerable to contamination from upstream pollution. Marshall raised concerns over the misuse of natural sinkholes, which are often treated as dumping grounds for garbage and sewage.
When the people will see a sinkhole and they just put everything in there, toss their trash in there, let their sewage water go in there, etc. But those sinkholes are direct conduits into the groundwater below. And so if you do things there, then you're going to see that water come out eventually. That might be a pollution thing. So there has to be proper garbage disposal, proper solid waste and effluent disposal, not just throwing everything in the sinkhole.
In addition, the WRA is urging residents, farmers, and businesses to adopt more responsible practices related to agriculture and water use. This includes the careful application of fertilizers, avoiding toxic chemicals, and refraining from harmful or illegal activities, such as washing vehicles in rivers.
And just general awareness that the actions we do in our environment have a butterfly effect. Everything has an effect somewhere else. And so it's for all of us to be aware that we are the ones who live in our environment, and when we protect it, it protects us on the long term.
The findings of the isotope hydrology study are expected to guide policy decisions and public awareness campaigns aimed at strengthening watershed management island-wide. The cultural industry continues to be a powerhouse for Jamaica's economy, contributing more than $2 billion in revenue last year. Now, the Lasco Chin Foundation is launching a new cultural entrepreneurship program aimed at helping youth and adults transform their creativity into sustainable businesses. The initiative is designed to strengthen local capacity within the sector and ensure that more of the industry's economic potential remains in Jamaica. Details in this report from Demita Rodney.
Speaking at the program's press conference, member of the Lasco Chin Foundation, Mrs. Anna K. Richards, says the program is aimed at transforming heritage and artistic expression into sustainable business ventures.
LCF Cultural Entrepreneurship Program refers to the innovative development and commercialization of creative and cultural ideas, leveraging heritage and artistic expression for income generation. The program harnesses the rich cultural assets of Jamaica and the wider Caribbean, transforming traditions, stories, and artistic talent into sustainable business ventures. It encourages vulnerable groups, especially at-risk youth, to channel their creativity into legitimate income-generating opportunities.
She says the initiative combines entrepreneurship training with cultural and historical education, giving participants the skills to generate income while celebrating Jamaica's rich heritage.
Aligned with our mission to uplift and inspire through education and entrepreneurship, the program merges entrepreneurship training with cultural and historical education, even that of the vision and work of the late Honorable Lascelles Chin. It empowers young people to build sustainable livelihoods while deepening their appreciation of Jamaica's heritage and the contributions of our national heroes.
Mrs. Richards continues, sharing that the launch marks a significant milestone for the organization, which is laying the foundation with its original theatrical production highlighting the life and legacy of Sam Sharp, written by playwright David Tulloh.
Today marks a significant milestone in this journey, as we are laying the foundation with the launch of our original theatrical production centered on the life and legacy of national hero Sam Sharp. This production is more than a cultural tribute. It is an educational platform that brings history to life. It is a reflective space for dialogue and personal growth, and it is also an entrepreneurial springboard for creative ventures. By reframing history as a living source of inspiration, we invite creatives to engage with the past not as a distant memory, but as a catalyst for innovation and enterprise.
A snippet of the play titled Fire in December was shared at the launch, giving attendees a glimpse of how history and the arts can fuel both inspiration and entrepreneurship.
You should have been here from the start.
And what gospel you're preaching, eh? Tamba? Freedom or destruction?
Sometimes they are the same thing, Brother Sam. Me preaching truth. What you preaching?
Courage with conscience. Fire with faith. You preaching vengeance.
Me preaching survival.
Dressed up as justice.
And me preaching survival.
Survival don't mean scorched earth. Eh? You ready to burn everything? Eh? But you can't build nothing.
So you think them not talking about you, Daddy Sharp? Eh? That you get the spot to bring hope to all the slave. But you is not a licensed preacher.
My sermons are about God.
This chapel tired of sermon. It need revolution.
And who decide what God need, eh? You?
Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie is calling on municipal authorities and mayors across the island to ensure that all election-related paraphernalia are removed promptly following the conclusion of the recent elections. Speaking on Tuesday, Minister McKenzie emphasized the importance of restoring public spaces and returning the country to a sense of normalcy. The minister also urged citizens to support the initiative, noting that under Jamaican law, all campaign paraphernalia must be taken down within 14 days after the end of an election. In line with this directive, Montego Bay Mayor Richard Vernon has given candidates and political parties until September 17 to remove their campaign advertisements. Meanwhile, Mayor of Kingston Andrew Swaby has proposed the introduction of a refundable bond system as a way to enforce compliance and ensure that all political signs are removed in a timely manner. Minister McKenzie's appeal comes as part of broader efforts to maintain public order and environmental cleanliness following heightened political activity across the island. Time now for the Business Report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, here to bring you the stories shaping the financial world and guiding your journey to smarter business decisions. Let's dive into the top headlines. Jamaica's net international reserves climbed by US $38 million in August to stand at $6.15 billion US dollars, up from $6.11 billion at the end of July. The Bank of Jamaica says the increase was due to a rise in foreign assets to US $6.18 billion, while foreign liabilities also edged up to US $29.1 million. At the end of August, the reserves were enough to purchase 51 weeks of goods and 32 weeks of goods and services, unchanged from July. Net remittances climbed by 4%, or US $30 million, to US $830.6 million during the April to June quarter. Now, remittances account for only 15% of gross domestic product, down from 24% in 2021, 18.4% in 2022, 16% in 2023, and 15% last year. The United States remained the largest source, accounting for 68% of inflows, down from 69% a year earlier. The United Kingdom contributed 11%, Canada 10%, and the Cayman Islands 6%. For the trading period ending September 9, 2025, these were the most actively traded stocks. Toll road operator Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited with 5,463,485 units traded, representing 45.40% of market sales volume. Investment firm Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with 735,326 units traded, representing 6.11% of market sales volume. Media conglomerate Radio Jamaica Limited with 680,000 units traded, representing 5.65% of market sales volume. We now shift our focus to the Forex market rate set by the Bank of Jamaica. On September 9, 2025, the Bank of Jamaica reported US $55.78 million purchased and US $59.47 million sold by Forex traders. Forex traders earned $2.09 per dollar, selling the US at $161.30 and buying the US at $159.21. The Canadian dollar netted Forex traders $1.90 per transaction, with selling at $116.96 and buying at $115.06. The British pound yielded Forex traders $1.73 in profits, with selling at $218.12 and buying at $216.39. For our credit report tip of the day, think of your credit report as a canvas. It reflects how you manage money and credit over time. By intentionally building a portfolio of credit cards, loans, and mortgages, you're not just borrowing, you're showing discipline, growth, and readiness for bigger opportunities that can create lasting wealth. This offers key advantages. This boosts your credit score with on-time payments and responsible use. It unlocks better rates and higher credit limits. It provides financial flexibility for large purchases or emergencies, and it demonstrates stability to lenders, increasing approval odds. And finally, it creates leverage for opportunities in investment, real estate, or business growth. Now, when you're building something from nothing, as a professional woman over the age of 45, it's time to take charge of how your money shows up in your life. Not just in your accounts, but in your body and your mind. At 45 and beyond, you carry debt, built savings, managed investments, acquired assets, and navigated family influences. Each of these can stir stress, pressure, or doubt if left unchecked. But you have the power to shift these sensations into calm, clarity, and confidence. By tuning in to how money feels in your body and choosing intentional actions, you move beyond simply being resilient. You step into a season of financial strength, balance, and freedom. And that wraps up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, reminding you that every financial decision is a step toward your future. Until next time, stay focused, stay informed, and keep striving for success. See you soon.
In regional news, Caribbean Wellness Day is coming up this Saturday, September 13th. This year, the Caribbean Public Health Agency is urging people to take personal responsibility for their health. Speaking on TTT Now, Dr. Horace Cox, Director of Surveillance, Disease Prevention and Control Division at the Caribbean Public Health Agency, shares insights on the day.
This morning, we are joined by the Director of the Surveillance, Disease and Prevention Control Division, Dr. Horace Cox, who is going to give us a little bit of insight onto the Caribbean Public Health Agency's Caribbean Wellness Day, happening this Saturday, the 13th of September. Welcome to the Now, Dr. Cox.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and a pleasant morning to both you and the viewers.
I appreciate your enthusiasm because when you're talking about wellness, as we were saying, it is a big task to get people to take care of themselves over time, especially with changing behaviors. So getting into the conversation, this one was established for some time now, but each year we focus a little bit differently. This year, what is the focus for Caribbean Wellness Day?
Thank you so much. That's a very important question. And to be honest with you, this year we're focusing on the individual. So we're happy that you have so many viewers tuned in because we want them to appreciate the role that they can play in ensuring their own wellness. And so as a result, the theme for this year is about engagement, empowerment, and elevation. We're thinking about working together to ensure that we improve the health and well-being of all. And so just making an appeal to all those who are tuned in, as we share these messages, we want you to appreciate the role that you play and how you can help to advance your own health and well-being.
Now, we know as an individual how that immediately impacts us, but the bigger picture also translates into the nation and the region itself altogether, because we are talking communicable diseases and how that impacts job loss and the manpower that we need. I definitely get the big picture, but there are sub-themes as well. So expand a little bit on that and how we will play into that as well.
Yeah, it's an important point. The reality is that in the Caribbean, often we tend to relate to things that are infectious diseases. If I were to ask about COVID-19, everybody would be able to relate it, dengue, etc. But the reality is that when we look at the actual burden, 75% of deaths in the Caribbean region is caused by chronic non-communicable diseases. That's true in every 4 persons that are dying. They die because of this particular issue. So when we look at it, you spoke about burden and how it affects the economy, etc. Not only does it affect productivity, but it also materializes in terms of a burden on the health system and the need to invest more to take care of persons. And among those, we find also that cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, those are the most common. And so we want persons to be sensitized to be able to appreciate how they can help to prevent these things by addressing modifiable risk factors.
Those are some startling statistics, quite honestly. So let's jump straight into how CAFA is going to help us, the individuals, to actually make positive impact on those sort of numbers.
Correct. And we do realize that it extends beyond the individual, that there's several components here because as we tend to refer to a lot, we have determinants of health, the social and commercial determinants. And so there are many things happening within society, but we wanted to place the focus on, in conversation with other actors, the individual. Because we believe that if we can engage the individual, empower the individual, then that's a good way to start in terms of effecting some level of change. And so the focus this year is on the Caribbean plate with movement. And the reality is that often when we think about what's happening in the year also, how many times are we so busy that we just subscribe to purchasing fast foods? And indeed quite tasty, exactly, we can relate to it. But the fact is that we want to encourage persons to, as far as practical, have more of this individual drive to ensure that we're engaging in local cuisine, homemade cuisine, and that the reality, when we look at the plate composition, that we have about half of the plate that would be just vegetables, a quarter the staple and preferably ground provisions, and the other quarter, of course, protein. That would be very important for our development. So it's not just about the plate, but as we say, the Caribbean plate, because this is a Caribbean tailored intervention, and we want it to be with movement.
Still in Trinidad and Tobago, September is being observed as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, and advocates are urging greater support and safe spaces for those affected. In Trinidad and Tobago, concerns are rising over the high rate of suicides among men and boys, with experts calling for community action and more accessible resources. TTT News has that report.
September serves as a Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, where advocates continue to champion for the creation of safe spaces as well as support for those affected. Gender and Youth Development Specialist Richie Bansaraj says although this is an issue affecting all, statistics on the rates of suicide by men and boys are alarming.
Because of the context of Trinidad and Tobago's culture, where it is that men are seen as the breadwinners, men don't talk, you gotta be a big man in society, All of these things compound on our men and also our boys. So this month, taking responsibility as an advocate for men's issues, to raise awareness of men's issues and men's rights, to promote that we need to have safe spaces for our men and boys in society.
Creating protective environments, strengthening economic support, improving access to delivery of suicide care are some of the methods of prevention suggested by the Center of Diseases Control and Prevention. Community intervention is another that Mr. Bansaraj adds.
So we need to train our teachers, the community leaders, and also everybody within the community, the pastors, the persons in the temples, the persons in the masjids, all of these religious leaders as well, need to learn how to listen and understand people rather than just giving solutions now. Not all the time people want to hear a solution to something. They want to just have someone to talk to them, to talk to. And when they talk about these situations, they just get the solutions themselves.
Locally, there are a number of resources available for people seeking help.
The Ministry of Health has a hotline, and it's 800 COPE, 800 COPE. So they could call that a 24/7 hotline, and they will be referred to other agencies and stuff like that. There's also a website, which is a portal. I believe it's the government that created it, but it has NGOs and stuff like that in that portal. It's called FindCareTT, FindCareTT.com. So you go to that website, there's a portal to all of these different resources that are available to men and women, as well, boys and girls.
Faith Cheriot, TTT News.
In news out of St. Lucia, as the peak of the Atlantic hurricane season nears, officials of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, are reminding residents to strengthen preparedness efforts against any eventuality. Acting Director Princess Cordra is urging families to put emergency plans in place and to rely only on official weather updates as conditions remain unpredictable.
As the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season reaches its peak, St. Lucia's National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, is urging residents to prepare for adverse weather. Acting Director Princess Cordra emphasizes that disaster can strike at any time and residents must learn from past events that caught many unprepared.
We are now in September, which traditionally September and October mark the peak of the hurricane season in terms of activity. I know many people are looking for November, which is the end. However, we urge citizens, we cannot let our guard down at any time.
Cordra highlights that the most important preparatory tip is a family plan. Residents are reminded to have a plan in place for all members of the family, including children and the elderly.
History has taught us that Hurricane Lenny, for example, was in December, and even outside of the season, I don't think any of us will forget the Christmas Eve trough. Preparedness is the key. I urge all citizens to continue to be prepared, to be vigilant.
With weather conditions constantly changing, residents are urged to stay alert and ensure that they get information from authoritative sources.
To listen, to follow official advice, weather advice from the St. Lucia Met Services. You can go on their online site and you can get the current weather reports, which comes out 3 times a day. Through NEMO, you can follow any of our social platforms, including our WhatsApp channel, which would give you timely official information. It is important that you rely on the official sources rather than hearsay or just information which may be inaccurate circulating on social media.
Recently, attention turned to a developing tropical system in the Atlantic that, if fully formed, would have been named Gabrielle. However, the National Hurricane Center downgraded its chances of development to just 20% due to unfavorable conditions, particularly dry air. While the system may still bring some moisture to the Lesser Antilles, the likelihood of it becoming a named storm has decreased. CODRA is reminding families of one key preparedness tip that should be top priority.
To prepare your family emergency plans, that every member of the family is aware of their nearest shelters, the safest route to get there, that you have your grab-and-go bags prepared with essentials for each member of the family for a period of 3 days, which is the recommended time. And in those bags, we urge persons as well, not just your clothing and such and food, which is what we tend to think about, but do not forget medication, which is extremely important, as well as your documents, important documents that you don't want to lose. Digitize them, take a photo, send it to yourself via email, put it in your cloud storage, and carry them with you in the event that you have to evacuate. God has been really good to us, and we are very grateful for that. The season has been quiet so far, although last week, along with Met Services, we were watching an area of disturbance. Thank God it did not pan out to our detriment. It has dissipated, and we were spared that eventuality. But we urge persons, do not let your guard down. We are approaching the traditional peak of the season, which is September and October.
Residents are reminded that preparedness is their first line of defense against powerful natural disasters.
In sports, Jamaica's Reggae Boys continued their strong start in the CONCACAF Group B final round of World Cup qualifiers with a commanding 2-0 victory over arch rivals Trinidad and Tobago at the National Stadium on Tuesday night. The Reggae Boys took control of the match with goals from Bailey Kadamatiri in the 36th minute and John Russell in the 57th, sealing their second consecutive win in the campaign. With the victory, Jamaica now sits atop Group B with 6 points, 2 ahead of Curaçao, who edged Bermuda 3-2 in the group's other fixture. The result further solidifies the Reggae Boys' momentum as they push toward qualification for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Alan Skill Cole, former national football striker and widely regarded as one of Jamaica's greatest footballers, has died. He was 74 years old. Cole passed away on Tuesday after being admitted to the University Hospital of the West Indies in St. Andrew. Reports indicate he had been battling complications related to the heart, lungs, and kidneys. A revered figure in Jamaican sports, Cole made his mark with an illustrious schoolboy career at Kingston College and Vere Technical before going on to win local titles with Santos FC and representing the national team with distinction. Cole's impact on the sport in Jamaica has earned him legendary status, with many considering him among the finest football talents the country has ever produced. And that's the news on PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.